Welcome, everyone, to our latest podcast. I have the pleasure of the company of Joe Oliver with me today. Joe is the leading partner at Oliver and Partners, which is a NFU mutual insurance agency. Great to see you, Joe. Would you like to share a bit more about yourself?
Good to see you too, Steve. I've been an agent for NFU Mutual for about 19 years. I've always worked in a sales environment, just slightly different sales, but funnily enough, it's always been generally in agriculture. Outside of that particular business, I invest in some other smaller startup companies because that's quite exciting. It's an exciting area to be in. Keeping my finger in a few different pies, but my main role is as the senior partner here.
Very good. And yes, thank you for that coffee that you sent me from one of those other companies that you're involved in. So I've got a bunch of questions for you. We'll get right into it. So the first question is, the business model of the NFUM agencies is pretty unique. And how does that impact your approach to leadership?
It is unique. There are very few businesses that run in the way that we do. Essentially, I run a partnership business. There are four of us that are business partners, and NFU Mutual has about 250 to 280 agencies like mine around the country, and we operate right throughout the British Isles. So it's the easiest way to describe it. In actual fact, is it's a bit like a franchise, although we're tied agents to NFU Mutual. So largely we sell NFU Mutual products, and we sell anything that helps protect a business or an individual. So general insurance, financial services, risk management, those sort of things, but largely NFU Mutual products. What that means is, yes, I'm running my own business and leading a team here, but in actual fact, we've got a master that we work for, which is NFU Mutual, and I obviously have to comply with their requirements in the way that we run this agency, this business, while at the same time managing people and all of the things that go with running a small business, which essentially we are. In terms of, I suppose, my approach to leadership, it's a bit of a funnel situation. You've got to do what you've got to do at the top, and then you adapt and change within that. It's good to have some guidelines. It's good to have some boundaries as far as the way in which we run this organization, this smaller organization. I guess leadership-wise, I start and look at the team rather than where it's coming from. So I'm looking at the team and the way that we run our business. And I'm not sure that once you get to that level, to that local level, that it's hugely different to any other business, really. As long as I'm doing the right things and working this agency in the right way, everyone seems to be happy. So we're all in the business to make money, to look after customers and do the right thing. So as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, I don't think that there's anything much different about us other than ticking some boxes from someone above.
Okay, thank you. A little bit of a side question for you, because I've worked with you in the agency, and I've noted the sheer number of awards that you have won as an agency. I just wondered if there was anything that you were specifically doing that you think has contributed towards your success as a leader and the success of the business.
I think that what's contributed to the success is not being influenced by too much of the outside world and too much of what's going on around us. I don't need to look at what anyone else is doing. I think it's about having a vision, and just going for that vision, going for that goal. I don't necessarily need to compare myself or our business with anyone else. We sort of plough our own furrow to take it down the agricultural track. We've been successful. We stick to our goals. We have objectives, and we seem to have achieved them. So that's great. And obviously, we've worked with experts like yourself who have helped us transform the way that we do things in terms of sales.
Well, look, that's lovely, and thank you. I think we might edit that bit out, though. No, I'm only kidding.
It is. It was working with you the first time was transformational. It certainly helped us to accelerate our route towards those goals, without a doubt.
Well,
and
look,
you can edit if you want, Steve, by all means.
Edit that in.
But it's true.
Well, look, it's kind. It's kind. You know, my role is the easiest part. You know, fundamentally, you and the team have to then go and execute and deliver. Which, you know, you've been doing really well over the last couple of years. You've expanded from being a single agency to taking on 2 additional agencies. And what change has that created?
It's fascinating, really. The reason that I did it, as much as anything, was because within a small business, and any business owner will know this, you develop some great people, and then they reach a ceiling. There's a glass ceiling that they can't potentially get through, or there's certainly a limit within an agency like ours. And what happens is, which is wonderful for the individuals, they would have to move somewhere else. They'd have to move into another agency, and potentially I'd lose the skills that they've got. And so the reason that I wanted to take on some neighbouring agencies was largely so that I could have a broader business. And within that broader business, it creates new opportunities for individuals to grow and develop, to increase their opportunities to stay within the business. And also, of course, the larger the business gets, the more specialisms that we probably need. So it allows people to do different things. So it's created opportunities for team members. It's also created challenges because in the first instance, we had obviously 3 different cultures, 3 different business cultures, if you like, and pulling that together is challenging. Some of those agencies were understaffed, and it was as we were coming out of and still in COVID. So there was quite a bit of, there's quite a lot of change in the world, and there's quite a lot going on around us. So, and of course, probably most business owners know that recruitment has been more challenging over the last 2 or 3 years for various reasons. So probably the biggest factors were people, and I think they probably are one of the biggest factors in any business, getting the people right. And then secondly, running the same business with different cultures over 3 agencies, 3 different locations. And we've overcome that, and it was always the intention, actually. We've now closed 2 of the spoke offices. We're now amalgamated into one central hub, and actually just about to move into larger premises, which is slightly more central anyway to the area that we're covering. So that's worked pretty well.
Thank you. So positive side is the opportunity, the growth, the development for the team. Some of the challenges are around the different cultures, how you overcome that, but also finding additional good people to staff at the right level. In terms of your own leadership style, did that vary at all, going from a single site to 3 sites, and then those different cultures that you alluded to?
I think in terms of leadership style, I'm not sure that it has changed too much. What has changed, however, is different business partners. I've got now 3 young business partners, which is excellent. They have different skills, and so they've been able to take the roles. We've shared the roles out more evenly for each of them to also develop themselves, but to spend more time more closely with members of the team. What it has done is meant that I've stepped back from some of that closeness, because it's just impossible to manage as closely as I probably was. But that's good, and it's good timing for the agency that we do that as well.
Thank you. So what have been some of the other challenges that you've faced whilst growing this business?
I'm not someone to talk too much about the economy and all the other stuff, as I say, going on in the world, but inevitably it has been a challenge. The insurance market itself is a challenge because there's so much going on in the world. You know, we've got unprecedented world events, wildfires, floods, and that in itself pushes up insurance, coupled with inflation, coupled with the cost and access to materials to carry out repairs. Essentially, what that means for the customer is the price of insurance has to go up. Premiums are going up because of everything else in the world, and that is challenging at any time, because everyone's talking about, you know, the cost of everything. But when you're able to have a great conversation with customers because you've got a relationship with them, which we pride ourselves on having, it does make it easier. But there is still quite a lot that goes on in the, you know, in the outside, in the world that I can't control. I've got no control over. We just have to work with what we've got. So yeah, there've been some challenges that I can't have any influence over. And that probably comes back to my belief about having a vision and a goal, and almost ignoring those external factors that we can't deal with. We just have to adapt and change, and you know, go with whatever's happening in the world around us.
You touched upon previously, you know, the challenges or difficulties in finding good people to support your growth. How have you managed that process?
I'm not sure that we've got it right yet. I think it'll be one of those ongoing things. But we've certainly adapted in the last few years. And the reason that we've done that is, you know, we've used recruitment agencies. We've had people come to us from other agencies, so we've transferred people in. We've tried a lot of different things. We've grown our own. And I think because of the uniqueness that we referred to at the start, the uniqueness of NFU Mutual, and the way in which we do business, which is quite different to other brokers or other insurers, growing our own people is by far the best way, because we're unique and very different. So what we've done recently is we incentivize our customers to let us know about great people. And we give them, a bit like you would have an employee reward scheme, which we also have as well for anyone that introduces a new employee. We actually promote it to our customers. So small businesses or fairly large SMEs, I guess, in and around our part of the world, we advertise, do you know anybody? We'd like someone to join the team. And without doubt, growing from within has been the most successful that we've done. In terms of, you know yourself, you bring someone in and you train them how you want them, as opposed to bringing somebody in who's potentially picked up habits from somewhere else and picked up, they're used to working with a different scheme, with a different way of selling insurance. It just works really well for us. And I've got some great examples of some new people that joined us within the last 12 months. And actually their development has been phenomenal in comparison to that we would bring in from, we almost have to undo some of the work when you bring someone in from the market. So we're bringing them in, we're growing them, we're accelerating their development. And I think that's working remarkably well.
Excellent. Well, NFU Mutual, for those that don't know, is the National Farmers Union Mutual. You know, it was born out of the farming sector. It's well known in the farming insurance space. How are you getting traction into other industries?
It's fascinating, really, because we're obviously the most dangerous industry in the world. And some people do know what NFU stands for. And often they'll have that misconception that you're just for farmers. I suppose traction comes from relationships. We get a lot of referrals, again, something we learned from you in particular, but we get an awful lot of referrals from customers. And what's really interesting, if we either get referrals or we get in front of other businesses, generally speaking, they've got a degree of knowledge about NFU. What I find is that some of the great leaders that I deal with in, industries that are not farming or agricultural related, they may well have come from that sort of background. So some really great leaders have got a rural background somewhere, and probably decided it wasn't for them, or their business at home wasn't big enough. So, they're sons and daughters of people that have worked in or have a connection to the National Farmers Union. And again, working in an industry that is so risky, I guess, not insurance, agricultural, selling insurance to other risky organizations, risky businesses in terms of the activities they undertake, actually it's a pretty good foot through the door. If we can insure the most dangerous business in the country, then I have no doubt that we'll have the expertise and the experience to be able to do the same in any other sector. And there are certain sectors that we're particularly keen on dealing with, that even other insurers would walk away from. But there's plenty for us all to keep going, plenty for us all to go at.
And in terms of those other sectors, what would be the sort of top 2 or 3 that you're focusing on?
Well, I talk about risk, actually. Building trades, building and the allied trades, we're starting to gain quite a bit of traction in that sphere. Manufacturers, we're great with manufacturers. Wholesalers is pretty straightforward. So those sort of areas we're pretty good at. And of course, historically, we've dealt with a lot of businesses, that field to fork kind of business. So everything through restaurants, hospitality, food manufacturing, processing, is really our bread and butter. No pun. So yeah, anything remarkably linked to the processing of food, we're very good at, and we've got a lot of experience in. But beyond that, other trades that are completely unrelated are good markets for us.
Well, if anyone's watching this podcast that is in those sectors, we'll put a link with the podcast to get them to contact you and have a
By
chat.
all means. Thank you. Yeah.
What are some of the key leadership learning that you've had through your career that you think would be helpful for other leaders?
Wow. I think probably the most important things are to treat people as you'd want to be treated amongst everything that's going on. At the same time, clearly you're running a business. Sometimes you have to make decisions that other people wouldn't be willing to make. And I think that's probably what separates those that are able to be a leader comfortably and those that find it challenging, is having to make decisions when someone else would rather not have to make them. Probably as well, being open to change, willing to adapt, listening to experts, knowing that you don't know it all, and utilize experts is a good thing. I can't say that I've got an entirely open door policy, but it's fairly ajar most of the time. And I like to encourage the team that I have around me to come and talk to me if they need to, if they want to, if they have an idea, that sort of thing.
What advice would you give somebody who's just starting out in a leadership role?
You don't know it all. So take advice and learn from others, and take advice, learn from others, be a good person and treat people how you'd want to be treated.
Well, I think that's great. I'm just reflecting on my own career, that when I was 20, I felt like I knew everything.
Yeah.
And when I was 30, I realized I knew nothing.
Quite right.
But at that time, still felt I knew everything.
Yeah.
Now I'm 50. I'm finally open to the idea that there's lots still to learn.
Absolutely. I think it's a never-ending story, isn't it? We'll never know it all. And that's our challenge as humans, is to keep growing, isn't it?
What's your favourite sales book, blog, or podcast?
Some of the old classics, I guess. How to Win Friends and Influence People is a great book.
Oh yeah, Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, probably those kind of classics. I do like Think and Grow Rich as well, which is a real old classic. I think probably written in the 1930s, 40s, somewhere like that. But
Napoleon Hill was the author. I'm just showing my knowledge
yeah,
of the two books that you like.
yeah. And actually, yes, the world has adapted, but the principle of what they talked about is unchanged, and it's eternal. And I think probably I'd get people to read some of the old stuff and just adapt it in their way to modern thinking. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I think, and they're worth a reread as well, a refresh.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I have at least one of those on the bookshelf.
Yeah.
What do you believe are the three most important attributes to be a successful salesperson?
Ooh. Successful being the key word. Persistence.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I guess perseverance, but that's in the same sort of bracket, really. I think that you have to be resilient and growth orientated, and always willing to develop yourself and grow and learn, rather than just keep hitting your head against the same brick wall. Learn, reflect on what you've done.
Three great attributes. And if there's a poor sales habit that niggles you, what would that be?
People not delivering on their promises.
Okay.
Do what you say and say what you do. So do it, and if you promise to do something, make sure you deliver. Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given, either in relation to sales or leadership?
Apart from the ones we've talked about earlier, as in you don't know it all.
Yeah.
I suspect it would be open to learn and change and develop. And somebody once said to me, if you want to carry on in your career and develop your career and grow in your career, that actually the best thing that you can do is do more than you're paid for, and it'll get noticed.
Yeah.
Equally, if you do less than you're paid for, that gets noticed too. So I believe in doing more that I've been paid for all along, and therefore I think that helps your career. So do more than you're paid for.
It's great advice. It's great advice. I've got one that sticks in my mind from when I was relatively early in my career, and it was a manager who said he wanted me to continue offering my opinion because one day I might be right.
It's a good one. I can see why you might have said that to you, Steve.
Indeed. So I'm still looking forward to that day.
Yeah.
Joe, look, thank you very much. It's been a huge pleasure talking to you today. Very insightful, and I'm sure our listeners will get a lot of benefit from your answer to those questions. So thank you very much.
Good. Great to see you too. Thanks a lot, Steve. Nice to see you.
Hello. If today's conversation has resonated with you in any way and it's provoked some thought or comments, then please do comment. We'd love you to subscribe as well to our YouTube channel so that you can get updates when we have more of these conversations with other sales leaders. And of course, if you would like to contact me directly, you can do at steve.bussey@salestrong.co.uk. Thank you. Look forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye.